Alright guys, here's where I am going to be working through some of these 3.6 problems for you and showing you how to type them into Hawks so that you know what's going on. So we'll skip around, do a couple problems just so you can have an idea of each of the type of problem you can expect to see. So here we go. Number 1. We need to find the standard form of the equation for the circle with the following properties. It tells me that the center is 1/6 and the radius is 5. Okay, well, I'm going to pop over here to my whiteboard, jot this down real quick so that you can see it. The center is 1/6 and the radius is 5. Okay, we need to remember that the equation I'm working with is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Well, we already have most of these numbers. We just need to pop them into their respective places and we will have our standard form. And so we know the center is h comma k, and so I'm going to have x minus 1 squared plus y minus 6 squared. And in this case, if r is just 5, then that means that r squared must be 25. And so here is my answer. And so this is the standard form. Now, let's go back to Hawks. Let's type this in. We will have to use the keypad in order to do this. So we'll start out, well, not that button. We will start out with a parenthesis, and we will say x minus, in this case, 1. And then we have to square that part. And then we will come down and we will say, okay, plus y minus, in this case, 6. And then, of course, we will need to come out of there and square this as well. And we took the number 5, we squared it, and we got a 25. And so we submit, and there is our standard form equation. No big deal. Okay, number 2 is exactly the same idea, except for just watch this. You're going to have to square it for him to go away, but that'll be easier to do. Question number 3 is we're given an equation that's already in standard form, and we need to go through and we need to pick out pieces. And so what we'll do is we'll come over here to the whiteboard, we'll jot this down, we'll take it apart, and we'll type in the information that they're asking. So it starts out x minus 4 squared plus y plus 5 squared equals 9. And so we need to find the center, which we know is hk, and we need to find the radius, which we know is r. And so here's my h value. My k value is going to be found inside of this, and then this will be my k value. So in this instance, the h value is just a 4. Right now, this looks like a positive 5, so I need to rewrite it as a negative 5. Bam, center's done. If this is actually r squared, I know to get this r by itself, I have to take the square root. And the square root of 9 is just 3. And so now I have that the center is 4, negative 5, and the radius is 3. And so I will go back to Hawks, and the first thing they're asking me to do is find the center. Well, we said that was going to be 4, negative 5. So we'll type that in, and we will submit that. And there we go. And then the next thing they want us to have found was the radius. Well, we're going to take the square root of just this 9 and get a 3. And we'll submit that. And then the last thing they're going to want us to do is to actually graph this thing. And so you're going to click plot. A circle pops up. You're going to want to grab the center, and you're going to want to move that center to the center that you said. So in this case, 4, negative 5. So we're going to scooch over right 4, and then we're going to scooch down 5. And so now my center is in the correct spot. However, we know the radius is 3. So we'll grab one of these endpoints, and we'll go 1, 2, 3 units away. And now my circle is complete, and I will submit that, and voila, done. All right, now this particular problem is asking me to find the center, but it's not coming right out and saying this. However, I'm going to have to do completing the square in order to make this happen. And so let me get myself back to this screen. Let me clear all this out, and then I will show you how to do this. And so the problem starts out x squared plus y squared plus 12x plus 12y plus 68 equals 0. Let me double check because I have written the problem wrong. Yeah, okay. So when you look at this, it looks pretty bad, but we have to complete the square. And so the first thing that we need to do is rearrange this problem several ways. I need my x values to be side by side. I need my y values to be side by side, and I need this number to be on the other side. And so I will say, well, this is going to be x squared plus 12x. I'm just putting them side by side. And then I will say, well, this is plus y squared plus 12y. and then I'm going to have an equal sign, and if this is a positive 68, in order for me to move it over, I'm subtracting. And so now at least my x's and my y's are side by side. Now what's going to have to happen is, in the red, excuse the dog barking, in the red I'm going to have to complete the square. And so I will do that by taking number 12, dividing it by 2, getting the number 6, squaring it, and getting 36. Remember, that was my scrap work. And I'm going to do it for the other side as well. I will take this 12 divided by 2, get a 6, square it, and I will get a second 36. Now, remember, the reason why we do this is so that we can quickly and easily factor by taking the number that I have in parentheses and putting it right here. Guess what? Same thing. The reason that I do this is so that I can have y plus 6 whole thing squared. Now, this plus sign just comes straight down here, and these numbers, or excuse me, this number, technically I added 36 to this side and to this side, and so I have to add 36 plus 36. And then what I'm going to do is I have to get my calculator out here because I didn't have it prepared. I'm going to calculate those numbers. So I'm going to have, let's see, negative 68, and I'm going to add plus 36, and that will give me the number 4. And so now, what I'm about to highlight, this is the equation. Okay, but right now it's not asking me for the equation. It wants to know the center, and then it wants to know the radius. And so from this, I'm going to pluck out these pieces. And so since these both look like positive 6's, I know that my center is really negative 6, negative 6. And since I know that this is actually r squared, my radius is really the number 2. And so now that I have all of this stuff, I'll go back to Hawks, type all this in. So my center is negative 6, negative 6. And we had said that the radius would be the number 2. And then the next thing they want me to do is graph it. Well, we're going to click plot just like we did last time. We're going to put this center at negative 6, negative 6. And so my center is right. But then again, since the radius is only 2, I'm going to have to scooch this guy in just a little bit. And there's my circle. And now I'm done. Okay, all right, so this is a good one. This is the one where we have to do the most work. Let me jot these down real quick so we can get to it. So this particular question says to find the standard formula of the equation. However, this time they only give me 2 endpoints. And so there was a question like this on the PowerPoint. Let me get rid of this. Okay, so the endpoints that they give me are 8, 10, and 2, 12. And so the first thing that I'm going to have to do, these are endpoints. Number 1, I need to find the center, which is HK. And then number 2, I need to find the radius. And then once I have the H and the K and the radius, I'll be good to go. And so I'm going to go ahead and label these x1, y1, x2, y2. And to find the center, I need to use the midpoint formula. And so I'm going to take my x values, which are 8 plus 2. I'm going to add them up and divide by 2. And then I'm going to take my y values, which are 10 and 12, add them up and divide by 2. Well, 8 plus 2 is 10. It's still over 2. 10 plus 12 is 22. Still over 2. That's going to give me 5, 11. Let's see, make sure this is right. So this is my center, 5, 11. Okay, great. Now, in order for me to find the radius, I'll do that in green. I'm going to have to use the center that I just found and one of these points. So I always pick the first one. And so since this one's already labeled x1, y1, I'm going to label this little guy x2, y2. I'm going to bring this down so you can see it. 8, 10. And this is x1, y1. This is a parenthesis. And so now, in order for me to find the radius, I'm going to use that distance formula without the square root. And I'm going to say, okay, r squared is going to equal, and then I'm going to dive right into the distance formula. So I'm going to have 5 minus 8 squared plus 11 minus 10 squared. So 5 minus 8 is negative 3, but that's still squared. And 11 minus 10 is 1, but that's still squared. And let's see, negative 3 squared is 9, and 1 squared is 10. And so I know, oops, hold on. I know that r squared is equal to, I misspoke back up here. R squared is equal to 10. Okay, so I have r squared, I have the center, which I have to zoom back up here and take a peek at it, 511. Okay, and so I should be good to go. So 511 is my center, r squared is 10. So let's go back to Hawks. and it's asking me, oh, to find the equation. Okay, and so now I have to remember how to plug these things in. So I'll have h minus, this is x minus, excuse me, this is my h and my k, so 5 squared plus y minus 11 squared equals 10. And this will be my answer. So let's go plug this thing in. This is a 10. Let's go plug this thing in and make sure we're right. So we'll need our keypad again. So I will have x minus 5, and that thing will need to be squared. And then I will, I will have an addition sign, and then I will have y minus 11. And again, that whole thing will have to be squared. And since my r squared value is 10, I will pop that in, and ta-da, I'm done. Okay, this is another completing the square problem. I don't really want to do it. This is another diameter. I don't want to do that one either. Center passes through this one. Okay. All right, here we are. So this will probably be one of the last ones that I do with you. The question says to find the standard form of the equation of the following circle, and this time it's given you the circle and a picture. And so what we have to do is we have to look at this picture and we have to find the center, and then we have to count over to find the radius. And so let me get to my whiteboard here so that I can write this stuff down for you. And so looking at this picture, first things first is I want to find the center. So I start the origin and I go over 1, 2, 3, and I go up 1, 2. So my center is 3, 2. So I can write that down. Center is 3, 2. And this, of course, is h, and this is k. And so I go back to my picture and I say, okay, I need the radius. Well, from the center, I'm going to count over 1, 2. Oh, hey, the radius is 2. And so over here, I will put r is equal to 2. No problem. Now, I have to take these three pieces of information and put them in the formula. So I will have x minus h, in this case is a 3 squared, plus y minus k, in this case is a 2 squared. And if r is just 2, but I need r squared, I'm going to square 2 and get 4. And here, circled, is my final answer. And so I will go back to Hawks, and I will plug this thing in. And then I believe that'll be enough. I think we'll be done. So we're going to need our keypad out again. So here we go. We will have x minus 3, and I, of course, will have to square it, plus sign, y minus 2, and, of course, we'll have to square it, equals 4. All right, done. Okay, so this particular problem is very similar to the one that we've done. Don't let the fact that it has a fraction scare you. No big deal. This is another completing the square. And this gives you the center and endpoint. Okay, so we've come to the end of what I want to go through. I think that's enough to get you started. Keep going. Let me know what I can do to help. Thanks.